Well, hello, strangers. It's me. I'm back. Yeah, I'm really sorry about the radio silence, actually. I didn't intend it to be that long, but other things got in the way, as tends to happen. Yeah, so to catch up on things, I went to training that day after, or yeah, the next day, wasn't it? After that, the last podcast. And it was like, I don't know what was wrong with me. I was kind of, Jesus, drama queen, I was a little bit shaky. I couldn't remember if I knocked over or under because I used to knock over. And then I don't know, I think Owen saw it and he was kind of like, when should you start shooting at the closer one and see how you get on? So I did that for a bit. And of course, me being me, like everyone was shooting 5 arrows. And in my head, of course, because I can't be chill, I decided that I was going to try and shoot 12 arrows in the time it took them to shoot five. And I was getting there, actually. I was building it up quite well. And I just kept getting to 10 or 11. And then I was about to shoot the 12th one at one stage. And then this really small irritation interrupted me. And I basically had to stop. And it threw me a little bit because I had gotten into the rhythm of everything and I was feeling a little bit better about things. But then I had to kind of get back into that zone. So it was kind of a good learning experience in a way. Although I would have preferred if it didn't happen. But look, it did. And that's that. And we move on. Then I changed to 5 arrows because we're doing the EIAC thing in March. So you have to do the 5 arrows for that, isn't it? Yeah, I kind of feel like a bit of an imposter going to this thing now because my shooting since that day when I've gone along, which hasn't been a lot, my shooting, it's atrocious. It is embarrassingly bad. One of the days last week, I don't think it was Wednesday, was it? I don't remember. I went up anyway, and I have never missed as much as I missed on that. I was mortified. I was shooting behind it. I managed somehow to get, if I tried to do it, I wouldn't be able to do it. I shot the arrow between the backstop and the frame in a teeny little space. The arrow went through there and just rested. And I was just, I have no idea what the hell was going on. So I actually called it quits about a half an hour before the end of the thing, which I know isn't very sports minded and determined and everything. But I was just like, you know what? I was getting more and more frustrated, I suppose. So yeah, I was mortified, absolutely bloody mortified. So the main thing that's been happening in the club is training for the EIAC competition. A fair few of us are actually going, which I think would be great fun. And for some reason, for some delusional reason, I am booked in for the week in the hotel. I'm going to be knocked out in the first round. And don't be saying to me, that's very pessimistic thinking now and whatever else. I am going to be knocked out in the first round. And I'll just be happy to be there, and be in a competition and be like, yay, I actually did it. Yeah, I don't know where I think I'm going, being in the hotel for a week. It's a bit ridiculous. I apologize if you can hear noise in the background, which you probably can't, but the dog is going to town on his water. Yeah, definitely have imposter syndrome. Like, I really don't know what the hell I'm doing. But I'm hoping to meet other people, talk to other people about their experiences with archery. I might bring stuff with me and try and interview people. I want to learn more about everything because it's just been, I don't know, everything's just been very disjointed. So I want to get back into focusing on things, focusing on archery, focusing on, like the other night when I was shooting so badly, I was trying to figure out what exactly I was doing. And I think it was because at one stage I decided to randomly change my anchor point. I don't know why I do this stuff. I really don't. Yeah, that might have something to do with it. And I wasn't extending properly on some of them. And I think, and it's something I obviously need to work on, I think standing beside somebody throws off my aim as well. So that's something I really need to work on so that I can stand beside people and be comfortable with them and whatnot. I'm just really aware of my size and how much I might be pushing into other people's space and whatnot. And I really, God, I say really a lot. And I don't want other people to feel uncomfortable because of me. But I suppose I just have to get on with it. It's part of the process, isn't it? Yeah, it's part of the process. It's something that I have to do. I have to just deal with it. But I'm looking forward to the vibe. I'm looking forward to being involved in a competition. I'm hoping that it's going to build my confidence a bit more for me, even if like I shoot like shit. To me, the important thing is actually turning up and just doing it. And I really want to see how my bow is in that kind of environment. Like, we will be shooting further than the distance we have in the training hall, as far as I'm aware. So I think the initial shots will be me just figuring that out, figuring like how much extension I need and various things. And I know that that's probably going to be the case. So I'm not going to be beating myself up massively if the first few aren't fabulous. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the different types of bows. I'm looking forward to just being in that environment. I think it's going to be great fun. But I definitely think I'm going to take the microphone and things with me. So if you're listening to this and you're going to the competition, don't be freaked out if I come over to you and ask you, can I interview you? Or if you see me, feel free to come over and say, can we have a chat? And then I can record some stuff. I probably can do it on my phone, but I don't know. We'll figure out something anyway. It'd be great. But I would love to kind of get as many voices as possible, as many stories as possible, as many experiences as possible, give a really good overview of the whole thing. But another thing that, and here we go with negativity again, but something like 2 weeks ago, something happened and I don't know what it was. And neither do the doctors and specialists and everybody else. Basically, it was something happened physically out of nowhere. I thought I was actually on the way out. I thought I was having a heart attack. And so I rang Mal and I said, look, I'm not feeling too good. I think you need to come home. And instead of kind of being like, oh, what's wrong? He was like, I'm going to leave now. So I must have sounded bad. I don't know how I sounded when it happened, but I knew I wasn't going to be in a position to look after my child that afternoon because physically, I genuinely don't know what the hell it was. I don't know what the hell it was. But yeah, I thought I was going to pass out. It was just, I'm not going to go into all the symptoms and everything. It was just really horrible. I've never felt like that in my life. And I don't think I'm overreacting when I say I thought I was having a heart attack and I was about to die. Yeah, I had to, like, I was parked up in the school and all I could think was my child's going to come out and find me dead in the car. This is an awful podcast. I think there's no change there, Roberta. So yeah, I managed then to get the energy to drive us home. It's only a 5-minute drive, thank God. And all the way home, I was thinking, I just have to get him home safe. I have to get him home safe, and then it doesn't matter. And I lost like vision in my left eye, I'm really blurry and everything. And it was just a really crappy experience. When I got home then, I remember like just going to the couch and sitting down. I had a really heavy blanket over my legs, like from my feet up to my neck, basically. And then I had another blanket around my shoulders to try and kind of keep me warm. I was absolutely freezing. I'm not joking. I just couldn't stop shaking and I felt horrific. I was pumping sweat. I was absolutely freezing. Mal got home. He thought that I was dead because my lips were blue. The tops of my fingers were blue. My feet were purple. And I was supposed to go to training that night. So obviously I didn't go. And at one stage, my heart rate went up to 160 and then down to 73 in a matter of minutes. And I didn't feel that. And that didn't happen at the time when the symptoms initially started. Something definitely happened. Something wasn't right. And I was in a huge amount of pain all over my body as well. I managed with some help to get up the stairs. I got into bed. I had a duvet over me. I had a really heavy blanket over me. And it took roughly 2.5 hours for me to get my feet warm and for the pain to stop all over my body. And then it was just pain from my hips downwards. Like, it was just the weirdest thing. Really, really weird. I don't know what it was. I can't explain it. And I didn't go to the A&E. You're probably like, why didn't you go? Because I thought maybe they'd, you know what? Do you know why I didn't go? And this is what I said to them the next day, actually, when I went in. They said to me, why didn't you come in yesterday? And I said, because any time that I have come in with anything to do with my heart or anything else, I am told it's stress and it's anxiety. That's what I'm told every single time. Even though I actually do have a heart condition. And if you look in my file, there's a letter there from my consultant explaining the heart condition to you. But nobody ever looks in the file. They just come in and go, oh, if you have any stress in your life, oh, it's just anxiety. And I think a huge amount of women get that when they go in, with anything like related to their heart or just when things aren't right. It's just, going back to that whole thing of like, oh, you have ghosts in your blood, put some leeches on you. You know what I mean? Get out the door. But it was a really bad night, lots of pain. I had a fan on me all night, even though like my head was boiling, but the rest of me was freezing. A very uncomfortable night. And so I went into the A&E next day and went up to the counter, and I don't know her name, but anyway, she was saying to me, you're really breathless. Are you okay? And I was just like, I don't think I'm breathless. Like, I didn't notice any of this kind of stuff. So fair play to them. Fair play to them in Portlaoise. They ran as many tests as they possibly could for everything. Absolutely everything. I actually still have a mark on one arm for where they took blood for cultures. And I have a mark in the crook of my elbow on the other arm for when they put in the thingy-bobs I can't remember the name of. And then I have a mark on my hand because when they put the needle in the crook of my arm, it did what it always does and it bent and everything else. So it got blocked. And so they had to put it in a different location. And that's what they did. But I was in there getting tests done from 11 in the morning. And yeah, look, they really, really did everything. And they were so wonderful in there. It was constant communication. I wasn't kind of left alone to wonder what the hell was going on. Got a CT done, got an X-ray done. And they said, we want to do an MRI. And I said, are you going to sedate me? And they said, no. And I said, well, then we're not doing an MRI, are you? Because I just can't have them anymore. And again, I know there's people going, well, it's your health and you really just need to get over it and be a big girl. I've had too many of them. I'm terrified of them at this stage. I think the last time I had to go in for one for my back, I took 8 Xanax and still couldn't get in the machine. So I've always said, from now on, you can sedate me if you want to get me in an MRI. And especially if it's to do with my head, because they clamp your head. Obviously, they need to keep you still. So no, sorry. Jesus, I just remembered when I was in for my gallbladder. Let's just do a whole, medical file on me here. I was in for my gallbladder a while ago. One of the times, because it took 13 months for them to take it out. They wanted to do an MRI and I said no. And he said, why? And I said, because I am terrified of them. I'm claustrophobic. If I can't get out of a place, no matter the size, I freak the fuck out. So I'm not going to get into a tube that's tiny that I can't get out of. And I don't like things being that close to my face. And this person who had gone to medical school and apparently is very intelligent, far more intelligent than I, said to me, but you wear glasses. And I said, yeah. And he said, but those are close to your face. And I said, do I have to explain the difference between an MRI machine and glasses to you? And he's just like, well, I'm just giving an example. And I was like, that's one of the worst examples I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, I didn't go for the MRI that day. So why are you telling us all this? Because it basically has impacted my training. I'm having to take more breaks than I used to. I went on Sunday, I think it was, and my muscles were just really sore. I have stretchy bands and everything else. You'll be glad to know I got the stretchy bands and I use them every day. But it's just whatever that thing was, and they literally can't find any reason for it because all the tests were clear except for the bloods, which showed an elevated infection level. So they put me on antibiotics. But whatever that thing was, it absolutely wiped me. I don't know what it was. And it's actually really scary because I don't know if it's going to happen again. But anyway, long story short, Jesus Christ, could it be any longer? Yeah, it has affected my training and I'm having to be really cognizant of that. And I kind of do a couple of ends and then I sit down and I hydrate and kind of get my heart rate back down. And then I get up and I do more. So I have to be really, really careful. But I just don't know how it's going to affect the competition. I am going to ask for some help when I'm there. But look, I'm just going to go But I suppose it just becomes very frustrating when you are trying to do something, as we all know, when you're trying to do something and you get, a bit of headway and things are going a bit too well, maybe. And then something will just come out of nowhere and just be like, ha ha, fool, and put you back a bit. And that's the frustration that I'm feeling is I went back, I was prepared to do everything, and then this thing hit. So where do I go from here? Is the question I'm asking myself. Because I don't want to be wasting people's time. I don't want to be possibly pushing myself to some health issues. But at the same time, I need to be out there moving. And I don't particularly want to give up on this. Like when I'm good, I'm really bloody good at it. And when I'm crap with like last week, I am really crap at it. So where do I draw the line? I think maybe my best kind of plan, I think maybe the best thing I can do realistically is pace myself the way I have been, doing some ends and sitting down. In the competition, I can't do that as much, but I'm going to see if I can get help, like as in, can somebody pull the arrows for me? And also I have gotten, that isn't correct vocabulary, is it? I got a bow stand, which is higher than the usual ones. So that's great because it means I don't have to consistently be bending down as much as other people who have the shorter ones. So that's a good thing as well. I think if I put thought into it and if I prepare the groundwork before I get there, it should be fine. It should be fine. Those are famous last words. But if you are going to it, I would love to know what you're doing to prepare for it, how your training's going, what you hope to get from it. As I said, all I hope to get from it is the achievement of turning up and shooting in a competition. That's all I care about. I genuinely don't expect to get any medals, and I am just going to experience the whole thing. I think that's maybe the bit that I need to hold on to, is the fact that turning up is the win for me right now. Obviously, there was the whole thing before Christmas where I wasn't turning up and didn't want to turn up, and now I really want to turn up. And yeah, a few months ago, if you told me that I'd be signing up for a week away for a competition, I would have laughed in your face. Not even because of the shooting, just because of the energy of it, the social side of it, like the unpredictability, the what if something happens of it all. I'm not very good socially. I'm really not. I need to have my little kind of time away to get my energy back and whatever. And yet here I am, booked, paid, hotel sorted, very unhinged, but committed all the same. And I think that counts for something, I keep calling it imposter syndrome, but maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just being still some kind of way new. I'm clinging on to that bit anyway, at something, and not being as brilliant as I thought I was going to be. Maybe it's just being a novice in public, a novice competition participant. And that's uncomfortable, especially as an adult, especially when you're used to being competent in other parts of your life. There's something like very exposing about standing on a shooting line beside people who look like they absolutely know what they're doing. And it's a little bit unnerving, but maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's the point, because every single one of them, every archer that I'm looking at, thinking they're miles ahead of me, they were all in my position once, I'm sure. They shot arrows randomly around the place. They changed anchor points for no reason. They probably packed up early at least once because they were frustrated. Probably had a week where everything fell apart and they thought, why am I even doing this? And they kept going. And I think I do a bit too much of introspective thinking, a bit too much introspection. Whatever way the bloody thing is. One of them. Use it. Take it. Yeah, so I need to redefine what good means for me now. Like, it's not perfect scores. It isn't consistency every single session, no matter how much I try, because my brain just decides, oh, look, I'm bored. I need to do this instead. Good might be just showing up when my body is unreliable. It might be listening to myself enough to stop when I need to instead of pushing through and ending up white for 3 days, which I did in the past. I really, really pushed myself at some of the training, and it wasn't a good idea. And honestly, after that health scare, whatever the hell it was, my relationship with pushing myself has shifted a bit. When you genuinely think you might die in a school car park on a Wednesday afternoon, your priorities rearrange themselves fairly quickly. You start thinking less about medals and more about, am I safe? Am I okay? Am I actually listening to my body? And that's sort of uncomfortable for me too, because I don't want to be fragile. I don't want to be the person who has to sit down every few ends. I don't want to be the person asking for help pulling arrows. I don't want to be the one with the back brace and the heart thing and the mysterious episode. But that's where I am. And it's very uncomfortable for me because I have always been the strong one. I've always been the person who fixed things. I've always been independent. But I kind of have to accept the fact that I am not. I'm not. None of us are. I need to get over it. I am not the person I was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I don't have that body. I don't have those abilities anymore. Like, I have battered my body. I have bruised my body. I have injured my body. I've done so much to my body throughout my 40, nearly 5 years, nearly 6 years. God, I've lost time. Throughout the last nearly 46 years that I'm sometimes surprised that I'm not in worse condition than I am. I think maybe adapting, maybe saying, right, this is the body I have, this is the energy I have, and working within that is really the way. Because I do love it. I really do love archery, you know? Like when I went back there at the start of January and I shot that first arrow, I was just like, yeah, I have missed this. I have really missed this. And I love it. I really do love it. Even when I'm shooting behind the target, even when I accidentally thread an arrow through a gap that, honest to God, physics says shouldn't be possible. And even when I leave early because I just think that the gods are taking the piss that day, there is something about standing there and drawing the bow back that feels just really steadying for me. And I don't want to lose that. I think a good way of kind of looking at the competition isn't from the performance side. Like I said, I'm not going there to win medals. I'm going there to turn up. But also maybe I'm going there for information, you know? How does my body react? How does my heart behave? How do I cope with the noise, people, the pressure? What routines will help me? What throws me off? What do I need to adjust? If I go into it as a learning experience instead of judgment thing, I think it's going to be a little bit less nerve-wracking. And I think that's something I'm trying to apply more generally as well, instead of, you know, beating myself up like the other night. And I keep laughing because it was so ridiculous. Beating myself up over that. It should be a case of, okay, relax a bit. What happened there? What changed? The anchor point, the extension, was my headspace right? Instead of this is the end of everything, this is a blip. It's annoying. Yes. Is it permanent? I hope to God not. And everything feels, like I said earlier on, disjointed at the moment because it is. I've got health stuff again, training inconsistencies. Obviously, I'm a parent. I'm working. I'm trying to keep this podcast alive, trying to be a functioning human. And it's not linear. It's messy. And it's still movement, though. Messy still counts, I suppose, in a way. It's like I'm still going. I'm still moving. And that's all any of us can hope for, isn't it, in our lives, to keep going and not die in your car on a Wednesday afternoon in a kid's school. So if you're listening and you're also in a phase of where things feel a bit chaotic, whether it's your sports, your health, work, personal life, whatever it is, maybe the only thing you need to focus on is the next small thing. And if I get knocked out in the first round, that's absolutely grand. Genuinely, I'll go and I'll sit and I'll watch everybody else and I'll see techniques and I'll see very pretty bows and really cool arrows. And you know what? I'll still have done it. I'll still have turned up and I still will have given it a go. And then I'll go back to the hotel and probably order something very overpriced to be delivered to the room. Can somebody explain to me why hotels are offering room service and then charging you like €10 or €20 to have it delivered to your room? Why offer the service and then charge me more? Like the food's already overpriced and the drink's already overpriced. Is it because people aren't tipping? I need answers, okay? I might record a slightly delirious podcast episode about everything and the price of room service. So in conclusion, that is where I am at. Slightly battered, bruised, definitely stubborn, still showing up. And things are a bit all over the gaff. I think that's just going to be the way it is. I think that's just life, isn't it? And you just have to get on with it and do the best you can. And that's the main thing. I'm just really going to take part and to experience it and have fun, get to meet people, get to meet listeners if there's any left, because I know I've fallen off the face of the earth with this, and just have a laugh for a week in water. And if I get one arrow on the target, I will be fucking delighted.